Hey there everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today we're working on the Quicksilver Swords from the Swords, S-W-O-R-D, Swords. We're working on the Quicksilver Swords from the Malign Sorcery box, and yeah, these guys are actually looking pretty cool. It's going to be a very easy paint scheme to put together. Obviously we have the swords, and then we have this kind of ethereal energy kind of weaving in and amongst them. So should be nice and easy and bright. So in order to get that nice bright effect, we're going to start with priming it up in Corax White, and then we'll be right back to paint them. Alright, so the paint on this guy is going to be actually fairly simple. We're just going to go straight up with the swords, and then we'll use some contrast paint for the kind of ethereal magic effects. We'll do the base. Fantastic, super duper easy. So we're going to start off with the swords. Now we want kind of like almost a kind of like a a specialty kind of sword. It's the only really cool feature we have on the model that's going to draw our eye in, other than that general effect of kind of that ethereal spell quality there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Retributor armor, and we're going to go for quite a deep and rich gold for our swords. So getting in here, we're just going to go in here now, and we'll do these kind of skull kind of guards here, right? And then we'll do the skulls up here as well, and just make sure you get into the eye sockets there. And I'm going to try and make sure that I leave as much as I can of that kind of ethereal space alone. Okay, so we got the gold on there, and obviously it looks pretty yellow kind of on its own. But we'll get the lead belcher in there, and then we'll get the that coloring in on the spell effects there, and it should be pretty solid. So again, just grabbing some lead belcher and being again fairly careful about kind of crossing over those lines. So now if we ever get stuck, we can actually go back in with some Ultuan Gray or Celestra Gray, or like a nice light gray, or even just going back in with white if we wanted to. But I'm just going to go in here and then pick out the swords themselves, and then of course just that little bit, lost my point there, just get that little bit of that kind of handle right in here. Alright, so we got the metallics all done and we're looking good. I just wanted to come in next and do the wash on the metallics, just to give them a little bit of depth here. Now, I had a few spots where I kind of oopsed over the white. I started going back over with the white scar, but you know what? I'm just going to wait until I get the wash done, because I think that's I'm going to make the most impact on that kind of white ethereal smoke there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wash here. I've got a special wash that I use. It's 25% Agrax Earthshade, 25% Nuln Oil, and the other 50% is made up of floor wax, which is just like or floor polish, which is just like a flow aid there. So what I'm going to do is just apply this, and just be careful I don't get too much in the nooks and crannies on the white here. And then we'll come back and we'll highlight the metals, and then we'll do the flame effects. Alright, I've given the wash a little bit of time to settle down. So now what I'll do is I'm going to apply my highlight now of Runefang Steel, and I'm just going to do a light dry brush, or maybe a couple successive dry brushes. We'll see how it goes here. And I'm just going to do that over top of the swords. I find swords really difficult to paint sometimes, just because of this weird kind of shape where you've got that raised up area in the middle and then the edges there as well. So I figured the best approach for this is going to be just a dry brush to kind of build that color back up. So I'm going to first start on this top quarter here, and then I'll just kind of work my way around, just touching that upper edge. Okay, and then what I'll do is I'll just give it a little dry brush again, very light, across that ridge right there. So I'll do the edges first, and then I'll do the ridge, and that should give us a little bit of a definition there. And also just run that dry brush across kind of each side of these, kind of the hilt of the sword here. All right, so we can see that we get a little bit of that shimmering effect. If you're unhappy and you want just a little bit more contrast in there, you can always go back in with Lead Belcher and just kind of work your way into these fine areas. But I'm going to see how it looks and then maybe come back with that Lead Belcher in a bit. But you could do it right now if you so desired. Now I'm going to be working on the highlights for the gold now. Now I've already overbrushed because of the dry brush, just the way the nature is. Sometimes you get some over the skulls here or some of the details. But my highlight color for the gold is going to be this fulgurite copper. Now it's got a little bit of silver and a little bit of the gold in it as kind of a mix. So instead of going for a straight silver for your highlights, as some people like to do, I like to use the fulgurite copper. It's a nice kind of warm color. And it's also got lots of silver in it as well. So I'm not going to be doing any crazy edge highlighting. I'm just going to be doing an overbrush here and basically just picking out kind of the larger highlights on the gold. This is kind of like a spell. It's not like this thing has been, these swords have been dragged around in the mud or anything like that. So these are going to be fairly kind of magically, kind of clean. So I'm just going to do an overbrush of all of that gold, and we'll see how it looks. Alright, so I've got the highlight on the gold now, and I'm liking the look of it. It's got lots of kind of depth and richness to it, which is great. Just before I do that kind of ethereal effect with a contrast paint, I'm going to go back in with White Scar and just, if I had any little oopsies that kind of came up with going over with the silver or the wash or dry brushing or anything like that, I just want to make sure I kind of top up the white. Another thing is that sometimes the Corax white gives kind of like an off gray, especially if it's been sitting for a little bit. It gives a little bit of an off gray. So what you could do is, if you wanted to be all super, kind of highlighty about the whole thing with the contrast, you could go and you could just touch these highlighted areas with the white as well. But for this pass for me, I think I'm just going to go in and spend a bit of time and essentially just go back in wherever I've had a little bit of that paint kind of spill over like this. So it might look a little different here, but once we get that other coat on, I think it'll be just fine. Alright, so the last part of this whole model here is going to be this contrast of cyan and yellow, and we're going to use that for the kind of yellowy, kind of smoky effect. Now, the nice thing about this cyan and yellow is it looks fairly dark in the bottle, but it goes in quite light. It's a fairly transparent paint, so you get quite a nice light yellow effect from this paint. So I grab my fugly brush here. Now I'm going to do something a little weird. I'm going to hold this upside down. Now as the paint flows down with gravity, what's going to happen is that it will work away from the bottom. So in effect, in the end, the lightest part of the paint here is going to be at the top. So when I store this, I'm actually going to store this upside down while I wait for the contrast paint to dry here. Now you want to make sure you sop up any of that pooling just by using your brush again. You want to make sure you get rid of all that pooling that's in there. And then before it dries, if you get any on your other painted things, you just get some water and you can just wipe it off. Alright, so while that cyan and yellow was kind of drying and settling down, I just went ahead and finished up the base as well. And, for a template, it looks pretty sharp. It was very simple, very easy to put together. Allows us to kind of focus on our other models. And, yeah, I like the color. I like the kind of the look of that kind of warmer yellow in with the gold. It, kind of all goes together nicely. And, yeah, seeing this guy screaming across the table might be slightly terrifying. So, really enjoyed putting this together. It was quick and easy and efficient, and it's got another one of our Malign Sorcery endless spells kind of sorted out. So that's it for this one, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. It was a ton of fun putting together. Obviously, if you liked the video, hit the like button, and if you want more videos just like this, jab that subscribe button if you're new here, and make sure you hit that little notification bell to make sure you get notifications of all of our future videos, streams, and otherwise. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. We'll catch you in the next one.